my name is Vera, I'm a professional set builder and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be making some dungeon tiles and I'm super excited about it. My brother has asked me to make this for him and it's so cool. So dungeon tiles you typically use when playing Dungeons and Dragons or any RPG game that needs a battle map. It has some sort of grid on it and it just gives a bit more immersion to your game, which I really love. I'll be making some dungeon tiles and they're going to be fairy forest inspired, and then all the leftover tiles that I'll still have will be in this gory, creepy kind of forest thing. The foam I'll be using is this blue foam. The first step will be using a foam cutter to cut down foam and make a base. To help me, I also 3D printed this little thing. Now I do have a 3D printer, I barely use it. I really like creating with my hands, so I'm currently only using my 3D printer to just create some tools. This one was 3D printed and it's going to help me create a grid on every single tile. It's going to be short, it's going to be sweet, it's going to be nice, the results are going to be great, my brother is going to have them and play with them. I'm just really excited. I'm just really happy with this project. I'm thinking it's time to start. Let's go. The tiles I am creating are going to be squares of 7.5 by 7.5 centimeter, and since this foam is kind of thick, I also decided to cut every tile down the middle to create thinner tiles. This is quite a quick process because foam melts nicely and a foam cutter uses heat to go through it even better than butter. If you do this yourself, please be sure to use a respirator. Then I use my stampy tool to create a grid in all of the tiles, and at this point I didn't know I was going to cover the grid up in most of the tiles with some miniature grass, so this was maybe an unnecessary step, but oh well. It went quick enough. After all this, I used the best tool to create a rocky texture, a rock, and then I set everything with a combination of Mod Podge and paint. This makes the foam durable for many playthroughs. I have just finished up texturing and base coating all the dungeon tiles. You see them lying around here. They've gotten a base coat of Mod Podge and black paint, and that will make sure that the foam is set. I'm gonna head home now because this is currently drying, and tomorrow we'll be making some trees, making some tree stumps, making some cute little mushrooms, making some really cool attributes to add to this. I'll also be kind of figuring out what to do with the rest of the decoration. I think this is good for a first day. I'm happy. I wasn't really tired, so I think it's good to call it a day. The next day I set out with renewed energy and I started on making the bases for all the different parts of this project. First up is tiny little tree stumps, which will go on top of the tiles and will act as walls so that during a game you can use these to block paths or turn them to create space. I am using air dried clay on top of a cardboard base, and this worked. Sort of. The clay didn't really stick to either the cardboard or itself, so I just accepted whatever the shape and then I carved them and went on to the next part, which are mushrooms. They had to be tiny and that makes them extra cute. One of the things I knew I wanted to add was the possibility to create a fairy circle during playing, so I needed these mushrooms. I made them out of oven baked clay and then painted all the dots on. I finished up with a layer of glitter glue which made them all goopy, and I didn't expect it, but I really do like it. And then I went on to see what grass would do to these tiles, and I really liked the effect and the look, so I decided to just go for it and use this type of grass in the rest of the tiles too. Completely finished up on making all the tree trunks for the fairy forest. These are them. Honestly, it turned out very good. All of them are slightly different and it's just very nice to see them all together. And I also made some mushrooms and I already put them on their little tiles. I really think these turned out so adorable. I am in love with how these look. The big challenge for me is how to combine this aesthetic with a gross foresty one. So what I have other than these tree stumps is these three stumps. These are just leftover from a 3D print. One of my workshop colleagues prints a lot of 3D stuff and he usually makes sure that he gets the tree stump supports just for me so that I can use them in my builds. These are glow in the dark. So, spooky forest, we will get there. I'm very sure that this is going to save the day. To make sure that these two can be combined, I'm basically gonna make 3 types of tiles. One is going to have mainly these types of tree stumps. The second one is going to have mainly these green trees, and then the last one is going to have both combined. You basically create a gradient with this, and it makes sure that you can use these tiles seamlessly together. First things first is painting, so let's start doing that. I just honestly love the steps where our project seems to come together, and for this one, painting the trees really did the trick. I used several browns for the fairy trees and blacks for the gory trees, making sure to not cover them completely so that the glowing effect will stay visible. I also made some gloop for the gory forest with browns, purples, Mod Podge, some stones, and modeling paste created especially for a water effect. This causes the gloop to stay slightly shiny and give it a muddy look, and then it's time to combine it all. I'm so excited about this. It just honestly looks like a forest with only tree trunks instead of trees, but still it looks like a forest. I'm very excited to see what else I'm gonna come up with for this little project, but I'm gonna be doing that tomorrow because today my glue is all gone. I'm talking about the glue that I used to put the grass in place. I'm very happy to say that I have some. Actually, just see how this glue compares to the other glue that I had. Do I have to open it first? Is that the thing? Do I have to open it first? I do. I do, apparently. Whoops. Let's see how good this goes. It's a bit of a sticky glue. If something touches this, something of the greenery that I'm gonna put on, it already will stick to it, and that's really good. That's what we want. First, grass. Have you ever heard of watching paint dry? Well, waiting on the right glue to arrive might just be worse, but the step of finishing these tiles with some grass is just so satisfying, and now these tiles are ready for the tiny bits. I've got all the bases on. Every single one of them has grass, every single one of them has tree trunks attached, and every one of the creepy forest ones has the gooey underfloor, like the goo. I'm gonna be making some attributes to add to this set. So I already have the bigger tree trunks and the loose tree trunks, like these. I want to make a campfire, maybe 2, and I want to make a couple of those really creepy cult-like bird skull things. Then I have some stones and rocks and everything. I have some moss, so I'm gonna be attaching that as well. These tiles currently are already playable. I just want to spruce them up a tiny bit, but I'm already really proud. I really am. So let's get going. We are starting with campfires, and my favorite way to do this is to use hot glue to create some fiery drops, and then use glass paint, which dries semi-transparent to create a fire that looks sort of realistic. When these are drying, I continue with naturey bits and bobs, and figuring out how to detail all these tiles was so fun. It's on such a small scale that everything already is a detail, so you really have to think in scale. For instance, I use mosses and rocks to detail all of these, and I really looked at the size of the rocks and what type of mosses to use to make it look just right. Now, a gory forest is obviously never complete without some tombstones, so these are next. I use oven baked clay and texture them with some clay tools. I also use clay for the cult-like bird skull things. During making of these though, I remembered I was making this for Dungeons and Dragons and that these skulls would not be normal skulls. In the end, I decided to make some sort of generic looking skulls, and it works. They look like things I would not want to see in an actual forest, which was the goal. They are finished! I am so happy with how they turned out. I absolutely loved making these tiles, thinking about how to detail the details. I think the gameplay, for gameplay reasons, it's a very usable set as well. you can mix and match whatever you like, so you can change them up and you can use them in whatever configuration you want. Look how good this looks! Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked watching as much as I liked making it. Please like, subscribe, do all the things. Add in the comments what your favorite part about this project is, or maybe what kind of project you want me to make next. And then we're gonna get started on the next one. Bye! Tree trunks. Tree trunks. My